Derrick, it's really great to have you here on our series Working in Web3, where we want to know what your experience has been and what your thoughts are.
Zahra, it's a pleasure to be here and thank you for having me.
Sure. So my first question would be, how did you start working in Web3?
It's kind of a long and interesting story. Well, interesting depending on who you are, right, and depending on your perspective. But I'll talk you through it. Basically, I started my career in banking. I was working in banking for about 9 years, mainly in the global transaction services business, like just payments, cash management, and treasury, that kind of thing. And probably about 3/4 of the way through, and I was on my second bank, which was Bank of America Merrill Lynch. And I was looking after some pretty big name tech companies. And whenever I spoke to my contacts there at these companies, they always seemed to just be having a much better time than I was. They just seemed to be having a good time, enjoying life, enjoying their work. And they just seemed to be happy. Whereas at the bank, people were very serious, very focused, and just very, very serious and not necessarily enjoying themselves. I decided to make the move into tech. I decided I'm going to get into tech. It took me a couple of years, but I got a position at a company called Acuity. This is a small company, but they basically have data solutions, and they also have a KYC solution. I was working in the sales team there for a year. That was my sort of entry into tech. Obviously leveraging my financial background, I went into fintech. And then I was in a meeting with WorldPay, and I was with another one of the sales guys, right? And we were in their offices in London, and he mentioned, or he asked one of the people in the meeting, is there any underlying Ripple technology in your payment flow? And at this point, this was back in 2016, right? And I had never heard of Ripple before. And I was supposed to be like a product specialist on the sales team. Immediately after the meeting, I went and started researching Ripple. What is this thing? And yeah, it seemed super interesting. They're building this payment system, payment platform to rival Swift. And I thought, wow, this is interesting. And then super coincidentally, I got a message on LinkedIn 2 weeks later from someone at Ripple telling me that they're looking to hire someone in Europe to lead their pre-sales. I was like, wow, what a coincidence. But I really liked the approach of the recruiter, and I decided to have a chat with her. Her name was Mandy, and I had a few rounds of interviews. I had about 7 interviews with various different people, and then I ended up at Ripple, and that was how I got into crypto. It was super accidental. I wasn't looking to get into Web3. I was somewhat interested in it, but like I wasn't actively trying to get into Web3. It just happened. That's the story.
Cool. That is a cool journey and a cool story. And now that you work in Web3, would you say were your key challenges, learnings?
Key challenges of being in business development, I would say, are that you always have to be switched on, right? When you're in sales, you're always looking for your next deal. You can never relax. So the job doesn't really stop. You're working 24/7. Even if you're not working, you're thinking about, oh, I need to do this, or how can I get in touch with this person, or whatever. That is one thing that I'd say is quite challenging, but also rewarding at the same time about being in sales. And key learnings, I think, just making sure that you listen to your customers, right? A lot of people go into business meetings trying to pitch their product, and they just talk and talk and talk. A little bit like what I've done in this interview. But yeah, they just talk and pitch their product without really understanding what the customer wants or what the customer needs. And I think I found that something that is way more effective is to get the customer to talk to you, right? To understand their perspective, understand what their problems are, and if and how your solution fixes those problems. That gives you a much easier time when you're trying to explain the benefits of your solution.
That makes a lot of sense. And now working in Web3, what do you value most when you work with people?
Attitude. I think if the person or the people rather that I work with have the right attitude, or let's say an attitude that aligns with mine, which is being thoughtful, being considerate, having a strong work ethic, and trying to just work towards whatever the objectives are of the company and whatever your own personal objectives are, then I think that goes a long way, right? And outside of the business piece, it's very important that you have colleagues that are, like I say, thoughtful and considerate. I think that helps to create a much better working environment. And when you have those types of people, when you work with those types of people, you can create relationships that last a lifetime. And I have friends from when I started in my career like 20 years ago, who are still friends with me today. And I think a big part of that is because we have similar attitudes.
Cool. Couldn't agree more. And now that you're working a while now in Web3, what would you say are the key challenges specific in this space?
In Web3 specifically, I think one of the key challenges is just staying up to date with everything that's happening. The industry is such a fast-moving industry. There's so many changes. And I think just keeping abreast of all of the different things that are happening, all of the new projects, all of the new concepts, like a while back, there was this concept of liquid restaking, or first of all, liquid staking and then liquid restaking. Wow, what are these things? I just got my head around staking, let alone all of these new versions. And there's all of these new products popping up all of the time. I think a key challenge would just be staying up to date with all of the activity in the industry.
And now for the fun question part, are there any unexpected skills you had to use in your position as a business developer?
Unexpected skills. I'd say business development is a lot about relationships. I guess one of the unexpected skills is just having to keep up with your counterparts, that the people that you're trying to sell to. Maybe you go out to an event, or you go out to a party, and having to party with the best of them, let's say, is a good skill to have, definitely. And yeah, you probably wouldn't expect that coming into this industry.
And it sounds fun too.
You're in Web3, so.
That's true. And for the last question, if somebody wants to work as a business developer in Web3, what would you tell them? How should they start, or any tips?
Any tips? I'd say be intentional about what it is that you want. Figure out, first of all, what it is that you want to do. And once you figured out what you want to do, then I would say just speak to different people, go to different events, reach out to people on LinkedIn, and just ask questions. Offer your time, offer to do internships, offer to work for free, offer to just ask for a sit down, have a coffee, and just get exposure to as many people as possible. And then you can ask questions about the industry. You can figure out a path to getting to where you want to be. Just get yourself out there, ask questions, and make as many contacts as you can.
Cool. This is some really good advice. Thank you for being here. Super interesting. And we're very happy to see you soon again.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me, Zahra.
Bye.
Cheers.